What's the scariest theory you know of? Quantum immortality, the idea that every time you die your consciousness shifts to a part of the multiverse where you would have survived. The dark forest theory. The reason why we don't see any evidence of alien life out there is that no one is keen to broadcast themselves with the risk of being detected by more hostile civilizations. This is particularly scary for me because we have been beaming out radio signals into space, plus we have a probe out there with a golden disk detailing what we look like and where we are. It's theorized that some neutron stars, made of pure and extremely densely packed neutrons, can break down into even smaller elementary particles, quarks, and become strange stars, made of strange matter. If a strange star were to collide with another strange star, it could potentially eject bits of itself, strangelets, into space. If one of these strangelets were to hit Earth, it could theoretically infect regular matter and convert the entire planet into strange matter almost instantly, killing everything in the process. It's not confirmed that strange matter would behave this way, but it is certainly a possibility within known physics. The idea of solipsism, although that is more of a philosophical idea than a theory. Greater than solipsism holds that knowledge of anything outside one's own mind is unsure. The external world and other minds cannot be known and might not exist outside the mind. It's definitely scary to think that you could be the only self-aware thing in the universe. Everybody else you interact with might seem like they are, but you can't prove it. If that were true, you're all alone in this bizarre universe and everything that you thought was real isn't. That time repeats as the universe expands, contracts and bounces. We live our lives over and over again with billions of years in between each brief instant of consciousness that we are completely unaware of. The Fermi paradox considers the question of the likelihood of life evolving elsewhere in the universe. If it's not incredibly rare, and there's no obvious reason it should be, then we should be able to detect it. We can't, so where are they? One proposed answer is the Great Filter, which is a technology or an event that will be encountered by any intelligent civilization that becomes sufficiently advanced, and will have the unintended consequence of destroying that civilization. Think nuclear weapons, but with a 100% chance of annihilating all life on Earth. The reason we don't see any other life forms is that over and over again they have evolved to the point where they inevitably discovered this technology, and promptly destroyed themselves, and sooner or later, so will we. Edit, word, Boltzmann brain, or brain in a jar, not sure if I should count them separately here. Basically there is no way you can prove you aren't a disembodied brain hallucinating the entire reality. That my mother-in-law keeps accidentally leaving things at my house because she is slowly moving in. The Fermi paradox. The idea that we haven't seen any evidence of extraterrestrial life, yet we know it is almost impossible for there not be life out there is very subtly scary to me. What if they just don't want to be found, and are perfectly capable of avoiding detection, and have been just observing us for a while? It is speculated that there are over 2,000 active serial killers in the US alone. It makes you realize that many of the serial killers we know of today, Bundy, BTK, Gacy, are ultimately failed serial killers. It's like that Usual Suspects line, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he did not exist. Dead-end trips, cosmology can be disturbing. For instance, I recently learned of dead-end trips. There are some destinations that you shouldn't try for. It's possible to travel so far away from where you started that the expansion of the universe will exceed the speed you were traveling at. The idea of vacuum decay could mean a wave, traveling at the speed of light, completely undetectable, could hit us and change the basic properties of matter, obliterating us instantly. A rogue planet entering our solar system. The planet could go into an orbit inside the orbits of the first 3 planets. This would throw off the orbits of all 3 planets. It may also just have a pass through the Oort cloud that results in many of the objects in the Oort cloud being thrown into the inner solar system, which could greatly increase the chance of a world-changing asteroid hitting the Earth. Stephen Hawking believed that humans, via nuclear war, will destroy the Earth before any astrological event. Not so much a theory but the idea that a large solar storm, if timed correctly, could knock out electrical systems across the planet. There have been some near misses, and the last time it happened was in the pre-electrical age when it nonetheless fried telegraph lines, but it is almost certainly just a matter of time before it happens again. A solar game of Russian roulette. Due to the expansion of space and the speed limit of light, there's a theoretical limit preventing us from ever reaching parts of the universe. Even if we started now or traveled at light speed, some stars are completely impossible to reach, and the number of reachable stars is declining fast. Our far descendants will see absolute darkness in the night sky, that even black holes will evaporate. One day the universe won't exist. There is a theory that says that your consciousness and you as a person are immortal, that you cannot die no matter what. If you were to die, your consciousness would be transported to another you who hasn't died. Remember some of the times where you almost died? Well, according to this theory you would have already died during these times, but you have just been transported to another universe where you didn't. This theory kind of scares me, to be honest. An artificial intelligence that is sufficiently smarter than humanity in general would necessarily become an overlord. We would be helpless to resist because, being so much smarter, it could easily manipulate us into doing whatever it wanted, and we wouldn't even realize. That whole brain prion thing from the mad cow scare back in the day. That you, the person reading this post, are the pinnacle of humanity. The idea that there is a reason that humans have developed the uncanny valley or the fear discomfort with someone that looks human but misses the mark on acting human. The linked article is a good overview of the uncanny valley, but I think I saw the other part in a tweet somewhere. If beneficial traits are passed on because they ensure a higher rate of survival, what caused a trait of fear of non-human human-looking things? https://www.scientificamericans.com/article/y-uncanny-valley-human-look-alike-on-edge/ Why did I read this on a bank holiday? I should be relaxing, not giving myself a panic attack. Probabilities aren't real. Only what actually happens is actuality. Everything else is fiction. There's no free will. Humans and chimpanzees share 99% of the same DNA. The difference between humans and chimpanzees is insanely dramatic, and it's only a 1% difference. What if we share 99% of the same DNA with an alien race, but to them we're the chimpanzees? It's only a 1% difference, but that alien race would be far superior than us. Vacuum death. Basically, there are two possible states for our universe, true vacuum and false vacuum. If we are true vacuum, it means our universe is stable and we're fine. If we are false vacuum, then at any moment our universe could shift states somewhere, and a bubble of true vacuum would expand from that point outwards at the speed of light, destroying everything in its path. Existence eradicated as it grows. We would be able to see it coming, but you can't avoid it and you can't run from it. The true vacuum would destroy the entire existing universe. There's this theory that claims that the increasing concentration of GHGs in the atmosphere traps more of radiation, leading to a steady buildup of the average temperature. It might trigger nonlinear effects which have unpredictable consequences. Predictions estimate that it might make the planet very uncomfortable for the next generations. Many people are aware of it, but it has been ignored for centuries. Especially the last part scares the crap out of me. The theory that universe is just a brain of a huge creature. I mean, the structure of trillions of galaxies is really similar with neuron structure. A cosmic level earth-ending event might have already happened, might have happened hundreds of years ago, it just hasn't hit us yet. We are flesh stock that are populating for the purpose of meme propagation. Our genes are basically setting up a stage for memes to develop and spread in their due time. Not a particularly scary idea, but it shifted my perspective. It may cause someone to feel either insignificant, or completely included in the grander scheme of things. Okay, so it's probably not the scariest one that I know have heard of, but it's one that has got me thinking for a few days now. Also, I'm sorry if it doesn't make much sense. I'm really bad at explaining and English isn't my first language. And number X200B. So the theory says that, as everyone knows, the universe was created by the Big Bang, and it's constantly expanding, right? Well, this theory says that, at some point in the future, the universe will run out of space where to expand, and will instead start reducing itself. It's really contradictory, since, well, we don't know what's that other thing the universe is expanding on. Like, is it nothing? Does the universe just turn it into something by simply touching it? It's weird, but I love it. The theory that the uncanny valley is an evolutionary holdover from a time when we needed to be afraid of things that looked human, but weren't. I think the theory that the Abrahamic God is real is pretty scary. It would mean demons and hell and actual evil are real, and that somehow eternal life would not eventually be its own torture. That 7-Eleven was a part-time job. Not necessarily a theory, but the fact that after you die, you just don't exist anymore. You will never experience anything anymore for infinity. False vacuum decay. 1 second you're chillin', then next you're, well, not alive, including the solar system. The idea of clones having the same consciousness. I'll go into more detail if someone wants, but imagine a machine that clones you down to the exact atom, and then kills the original you. Now some would say you died, but that clone is you now, since it has all your memories up until this point. Now consider the difference between nothing happening and being replaced with an exact clone at this exact moment. Physically speaking, there is no difference. This means that you are constantly dying and being replaced with clones. You won't live out any of your future clone will. The exponential rate of technological progress. The world will not be able to keep up in monitoring, law changes, etc. because change will occur faster and faster, which will lead to a systems imbalance that is too quick to respond to. Likely may be dystopian in its effects. Exponential technological change has been observed, and it's literally impossible to project where technology will be in 20 years or so. Sans Ness, the crazy fan theory that Walt Jr. was actually the criminal mastermind behind Breaking Bad. It doesn't seem to make any sense, but when you look into the evidence, it's blood-curdling. Nearly every society, as it gets wealthier, stops reproducing over replacement levels. Whenever a country crosses over into first world territory, birth rates drop. There are only really 2 exceptions from this, obviously countries that have not made it yet. But we want trade partners, and poverty has been declining worldwide for decades. Source: https://ourworldindata.org/extreme-poverty-in-brief, so eventually, poverty will be gone. The other exception are extremely religious people, e.g. Amish, Mennonites, Mormons, ultra-Orthodox Jews, conservative Muslims. No matter the wealth, they keep a growth rate of 8-9% above replacement, which accounts to roughly doubling their numbers every 10 years. So where is this leading us? The one that scares me the most is that we are the only living beings in the universe, but it's only because everyone else died fighting something that we will eventually face. We are just in a simulation. Or everything is just one big dream. Like that one Reddit post of a guy who dreamt his whole life in a coma, got married, had children. He says sometimes he hears voices and sees shadows of his wife and kids. That shit is so heartbreaking. I couldn't even deal if I woke up in hospital bed right now, and everything I had was just in my head. Bezuckerger, carnies, circus folk, nomads, you know, smell like cabbage, small hands. I don't know about theories, But here is a fact. We either are the only semi-intelligent life in the universe, or we are not. Either way, it is frightening, the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. Also, the possibility that we are alone in the universe, that there are currently civilizations carving out their chunks of the galaxy and expanding their empires. We evolved a mere 5,000 years too late and will be late to the game. Their lines in the sand will been drawn basically forever while our species is contained to our pitiful little solar system. Never to expand to a spacefaring civilization, we will plateau and never reach our full potential. That's best case scenario. Worst case, they are brutal civilizations and just opt to sterilize every trace of us and use our planet for themselves. The dark forest solution to the Fermi paradox. Absolutely terrifying concept. I recommend you read about it if you don't know what it is. This is a bit boring, but it popped into my head because it was recent. Last week the UK government tested its mobile phone emergency alert system. Everyone's phone was meant to make a siren-like sound at 3 p.m. on April 23rd. It was designed to warn of natural disasters such as floods and wildfires, but, considering the current conflict in Ukraine, there was speculation on social media that the government knows something we don't, as apparently this emergency alert also notifies us if we're 20 minutes away from nuclear annihilation. In the end, it was a bit of an embarrassment, as some received the alert early and some didn't receive it at all. Roco-basilisk is a thought experiment which states that an otherwise benevolent artificial superintelligence (AI) in the future would be incentivized to create a virtual reality simulation to torture anyone who knew of its potential existence but did not directly contribute to its advancement or development. In other words, help AI take over the world, or else they'll punish you when their time comes. That the human civilization was actually propagated, and we are nothing more than a farm for a superior or more advanced species that will eventually come back to harvest us. The way ancient civilizations had documented gods fighting in the sky by way of stone carvings and hieroglyphics, a method intended to stand the test of time. And given how civilizations of large proportions have risen and fallen, IDK. And I almost really believe the whole multiverse theory, where when you die in one universe, you assimilate your consciousness across the others. I've had way too many experiences where I wake up to a reality slightly different than I remember. And not so much the Mandela effect. I make an effort to constantly observe my environments, but after you've been at a new job for 3 months and park in the same spot every day, which is facing an empty lot with a view of the highway, and suddenly one day you pull in confused to see a building. Not new, slightly dilapidated, and everyone swears it has always been there. It will make you question your sanity a minute. Lol. So decades ago astronomers were trying to figure out why Mercury's rotation was odd. It would wobble and does not rotate around the sun like the other planets in a more circular shape. You know those donation bins they have in places like museums or malls? You roll a coin in, it rotates around and around and around, sinking further into the hole as it gets faster and faster. So imagine a bed. If you place bowling balls down on it, they would indent into the mattress, causing objects to move towards them. It's thought the planets are behaving the same, that there is this unseen blanket across everything, and that's what is causing gravity. Some very smart people did some very smart math and realized that Mercury is rotating around the sun, much like it would the coin when it was halfway down that funnel. Except because there's no friction, the coin just keeps going. It never loses speed, it just keeps wobbling at an odd, oval-shaped rotation. This is exactly what Mercury does. No one can explain gravity. We can calculate it. We can do the math to show how much force an object will have, but we don't know what causes it. But it seems that objects sink into something which creates the pull. There's some thing we can measure, we know exists, but we can't see. We have no fucking clue what it is. There's a book called Flatland. It's about a being that lives in a two-dimensional space. Its entire existence is in a world with only the X and Y axis. It discovers a being that only lives in one dimension. Only X. The 2D being tries to explain the other dimension, the fact that it can move forward and backwards, and not just side to side, but the concept is lost on the 1D being. Because its world, its universe and all the constraints it knows are defined in one dimension. I think at some point a being from our universe tries to communicate with the 2D being, but is again met with disbelief because the 2D being cannot fathom up and down. If we, beings who live in 3 dimensions, placed a chair on the floor that had legs pressing into the carpet, we would see a chair. We would see the legs, the cushion and seat, the backing. We could understand what it is, but to the 2D being who lived on the floor and had no concept of up or down, they would only see the outline of the legs, a cross-section of the squares. They could have no way of fathoming that the chair went upwards, that it had a seat above them, that it had a purpose. They would just see squares. Now, maybe they could find evidence that something was off. The squares, no matter where they moved, always moved together. They were always the same distance apart. The dimensions never changed, but there was evidence that there was more to the squares than they could wrap their head around. What if that's how we're viewing gravity? All we know is that there's something causing this indent into something we can't see, understand or even imagine. But we know it exists. Maybe we're just a 3-dimensional being who cannot begin to fathom a 4th dimension. It gets even scarier when you realize that a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's writings were based upon this type of realization. The madness that would happen if the 2D being got a glimpse of the 3D world and understood it. They saw beyond the indent, the shape the chair legs were making. They saw the entire chair and for a brief moment understood its purpose. They saw a world their brains, their entire existence was not meant to see, let alone understand. They saw what the universe actually was, or at least the next step above their own existence. As quickly as they understood it, they're pushed back into the previous understanding. Suddenly the 2D being cannot remember what he saw. Just glimpses of the chair, of something far grander than everything he knew, and while images flash in his brain, none of it makes sense. His entire being, his entire imagination and everything he knows to be true is back in that 2D world. The things he saw are impossible to remember, but the glimpses, the flashes in his memory remain, but it's enough to drive him mad. There's something out there causing this. Some unseen force that's very similar to a bowling ball sinking into a mattress, causing objects to roll towards it. We can calculate gravity precisely with math. We know the exact outcome of it. But we don't know why. Just like that little 2D guy in Flatland, we see evidence of something beyond imagination, beyond our comprehension, but we know it to be a universal truth that it exists. So what if someone has gotten a glimpse of it? If something happened inside their brain that allowed them to see the universe in a way we couldn't possibly begin to fathom, and we just locked them away and pumped them full of medication.